thank Chief Jeff Pearson for hosting us here in wonderful Satellite Beach. It's always great to be in Brevard County. We also have really an all-star team with us here today, so I'd like to introduce and thank the fellow police chiefs who've joined us. We have Chief David Butler from Indian Harbor Police Department, Chief John Lau from Titusville Police Department, Chief Scott Rosenfeld from Cocoa Beach Police Department, Chief David Gillespie for Melbourne Police Department, Chief Melanie Griswold from Melbourne Beach Police, and Chief Mike O'Connor from Indy Atlantic Police Department. So thank you all, and also thanks to our representatives. We have Randy Fine, Florida's 53rd House District, and we have two great senators, Senators Mayfield and Senator Tom Wright. So thank you guys for doing it. And we are here today to announce that mission's been accomplished on a lot of what we set out to do to support our men and women in law enforcement this legislative session. And as we head into National Police Week, I think it's fitting that we're here today to celebrate a couple of things. One is when we passed our anti-rioting bill, we had a very strong provision in there that said we are not going to let local governments defund law enforcement, okay? We're going to make sure at the state level we protect our communities. And if you try to do it, we're going to fight back and we're going to defend the people of this state. But the other thing that we fought for was the recognition that when the coronavirus pandemic hit, you had some people, and I don't begrudge them from doing this, but you had some people working for different companies, whatever. They would just work on Zoom from their bedroom or from their living room. A lot of them were not even out and about doing stuff. Well, the people that wear the uniform, they didn't have that luxury. Okay, they were out there every single day. Our police, our fire, our EMTs, and they had to work more than they ever have. Not just to deal with protecting us when the pandemic hit, but then obviously how police were treated last year in many parts of the country was a total disgrace. And they had to put the uniform on. Yes, they knew that the state of Florida had their back, and I think we did much better in Florida. But if you look at what a lot of these police officers are dealing with now, it's terrible. So I thought it was important to recognize the service, to recognize the sacrifice, and I asked the legislature in this legislative session, we need to do bonuses for law enforcement. Some want to defund. Some want to defund the police. We're funding the police and then some, and that's what we're here today to say. And so thanks to the great work of our legislators who are here with us, as well as the Speaker of the House, Chris Sprowls, the Senate President, Wilton Simpson, we asked and they delivered. And so the legislature has passed, and I will, when I sign the budget, which will hopefully be relatively soon, we'll sign into law $1,000 bonuses for every sworn law enforcement officer, every EMT, every firefighter, and every paramedic in the state of Florida. And so we're going to hear from a couple folks. We're going to hear from Chief Pearson. We'll hear from our legislators, and then we'll do a check presentation. So, Chief, thanks for hosting us. And
yes, sir.
Podium's
Governor,
yours.
thank you. On behalf of the Florida Police Chiefs Association and over 900 of Florida's top law enforcement executives from across every region of the state, we want to thank Governor DeSantis for his unwavering support of Florida's law enforcement. All Floridians should be thankful for his commitment to maintaining public order and keeping the peace. Next week, May 9th to the 15th, is National Police Week, a time when we honor those who have made the supreme sacrifice with their lives to protect the freedoms of others and preserve law and order. Since the inception of this event in 1963, over 24,000 law enforcement officers lost their lives while protecting others. The Florida Police Chiefs Association is honored that Governor DeSantis will paint the town blue and illuminate the old Capitol complex in blue lights for the entire week. This visible token of his support for the dedicated service and courageous deeds of law enforcement officers and the contributions that they have made to the security and well-being of all people. We ask all Floridians to follow Governor DeSantis' lead and join him in lighting your residences, your businesses, your communities in blue the week of May 9th. In a year like no other, law enforcement remains steadfast to serve and protect, sometimes even at the risk of their own family's well-being. With that said, we want to thank Governor DeSantis for proposing and delivering on the $1,000 bonuses for first responders in recognition of that hardship endured by those who served over the past year. The Florida Police Chiefs Association also thanks Governor DeSantis for his leadership in House Bill 1, which will enable law enforcement to better protect the lives and property of every Floridian. Violent and disorderly assembly is destroying property, harassing and threatening citizens going about their businesses, attacking law enforcement, and those are unacceptable. House Bill 1 addresses these issues head-on and will ensure that peaceful protesters can safely exercise their constitutional rights without the threat of having their voices hijacked by the violent actions of others. Finally, because our mission is to continuously enhance law enforcement professionalism in the state of Florida, the Florida Police Chiefs Association established a subcommittee on accountability and societal change, hosting over 23 meetings with community leaders since June of 2020 to review law enforcement practices, policies, and determine how we can better serve our customers, the community. Thanks to the legislature, including the members here today with us, House Bill 7051 will soon be on its way to your desk, Governor. The legislation builds on the many subcommittees' recommendations and is the right way to address reform, factual and balanced, ever mindful of the dedication and sacrifice law enforcement officers, but equally committed to the public safety and accountability. With your strong and consistent leadership, Governor, we know that law enforcement can count on you. The Florida Police Chiefs Association can count on you, and most of all, the people of Florida can count on you, not only today, but tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I want to give a shout out to the Satellite Beach for hosting this. And Governor DeSantis, I think you know that we all love you, and the state of Florida loves you. You have delivered not only this session, but the prior two sessions since you have been in office, just unbelievable great policy for the state of Florida. Budgets have been unbelievable. Our environment has been being protected, and now we're protecting our police enforcement here. House Bill 1 was defining what a riot was and what a peaceful protest was. And if we don't have your back as first responders and police officers that have our back, what are we here for? And I'm just so thankful that we passed House Bill 1. I'm so thankful that we were able to get in the budget the bonuses that you are well deserved to receive. And it could not have happened without the collaboration between the House and the Senate and the governor's office. And we've really worked together as a team. President Simpson, Speaker Sprouse, the Governor DeSantis, they all work together as a team for a common good for the state of Florida and for our communities. So I want to thank you all for coming out. I want to especially thank my friend Jimmy with Paradise Dumpsters for coming out here. Jimmy is a true patriot, and we have a lot of those here in the state of Florida, and we are just so thankful. So thank you guys for coming out and supporting our governor.
Okay. Randy?
Well, appreciate you all being here. Look, we've had a great session, as the governor said, and I think it's because we've got a great legislature and we've got a bunch of great senators and great House members, but you don't get there without a great leader at the top. None of the things that we have talked about today would have happened without Governor DeSantis' leadership. I think he's proved yet again that he really is America's best governor. And we've yeah. He, like all of us, understand that there's a fundamental difference between a mostly peaceful protest and one that actually is. And we're going to make sure that here in Florida, we keep it that way. So last thing I want to say is, while we are here to recognize all the first responders with a $1,000 check, I don't want anyone to think that we don't appreciate every single day what it is that you do to keep us all safe. We may go and serve in politics or in the legislature to do our work for the people, but you actually have our backs every single day, and we're really grateful to have this small opportunity to repay it to you as well. So thanks, everybody, for being here. We appreciate it.
I I would like to also reiterate what my good colleagues here have said. It's a great day to be here. I'm so proud to be a senator in the state of Florida working under the guidelines of Governor DeSantis. It's a pleasure to support you and serve you, sir. And, you know, not only is he great about our paramedics, our firefighters, our EMS, our police, but he's also very concerned about our veterans. And this is a great state for our veterans. It's a great state for our EMS people, police departments, and sheriff's offices. So thank you all for being here today. I'm proud to support this legislation and looking forward to coming back when we have the actual checks to hand out. Thank you all.
We can do one. So, Chief, why don't you get in here? We show what's going to end up happening. So, we'll do right here. Florida's first responders. Help is on the way. $1,000. And it's really great to be here to celebrate some of these victories, particularly as we head into National Police Week next week. But it's also, the victories were way broader than just simply this bonus or our anti-rioting. If you look at the budget, if you look at our economy, you go back to the end of April, beginning of May last year, and you look at every prediction, all the doomsday scenarios, and, you know, we knew it was going to be difficult, but we also knew that Florida had what it took to bounce back. And the result has been, if you look now, we never took 1 penny out of our rainy day fund throughout all of COVID, not one. And now today, we've doubled our rainy day fund from when I became governor. If you look at the amount of revenue that's pouring into the state because of all the economic activity, the forecasters can't keep up with it. They actually just did a revised forecast second week of April saying, you know what, this revenue's coming in, the economy's doing good, so they did all these big upward revisions. And then even with that, in April, which they had just did like 3 weeks ago, we're $750 million pouring in above that because things are going so well. So there's going to be $1 billion. There's going to be $1 billion, $1.5 billion, maybe even $2 billion over the next 3 months that none of us even included in the budget at all. And so we're probably going to end up with total reserves close to $10 billion, which I think has got to be a record for this state. And so you had the ability. So we not only responded to this crisis, we did it in a way where we're coming out stronger, and now we're even better prepared for what may lie ahead in the future. And look, we obviously hope everything goes really well. I think Florida's leading the way, but you never know what happens with the economy, things like that. So we've protected Florida's trajectory. We're protected against any bumps in the road that may come. That's really responsible. And I think that when you look at how we're helping first responders, when you look at what we've done on education, you know, we got increased. I did the biggest teacher compensation last session, 2020, and we've added to that this session. And so people thought I should have vetoed it last year because we were going to run out of money. We did veto a lot. We vetoed $1 billion. But I said, no, this is something we fought for. We want to be there for the teachers. We increased that this year, and we're doing bonuses for teachers and principals, and we have increased our reserves. And you know what? We're going to do more on infrastructure and water resources and all these important things than we ever have. So we're going in a good direction, and we want to keep that going. Take a couple questions. Yes, ma'am?
Yesterday in Orange County, we saw a lack of demand. There were 4 mobile sites. They had about 4,000 vaccines available, maybe 120 just over that were administered. Do you think we are past the peak in terms of demand for the vaccine?
So the question is about vaccine demand. This is, I was saying this about a month and a half ago, that as we got into April, you'd start to really see the supply overtake demand, and by the time we got to May, there'd be surpluses. And there are all over the country. It's not just Florida. Part of that is a good thing because we put seniors first. We were the first state to put seniors first. And a lot of naysayers were saying you shouldn't do that. It was the right thing to do. We now have over 80% of seniors that have been vaccinated. Every senior that's wanted a shot has gotten. We've done over 10,000 home visits for homebound seniors. We've gone to churches. We've used hospitals. We've done all these different things. And I think the results have been very positive for seniors. But I think you have a situation where as you go further down the age bracket, and the risk is, it is less. There's no doubt as you go down. I think you have some folks that have said, you know, maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. Some don't want it. My message has been contra to what you hear out of Washington. What the Washington bureaucrats say is, we want you to get vaccinated, but when you get vaccinated, understand you got to wear 6 masks and you can never come within 100 feet. That is a terrible message to send, because you're sending the message that the vaccines don't work. I think the vaccine data has been very positive. We're not mandating it on anyone. It's your choice. But the message should be, you know, if you do it, you're protected. And that's what the message we've tried to send. But I think this is going to be a consistent issue going forward. We are doing public service announcements. We're working with folks in communities to try to, you know, present basically the facts on it. But ultimately, I think almost all the high-risk people who've wanted the vaccine at this point have gotten it. And that really is really a positive thing. And not just in Florida. Now, throughout most of the country, you're seeing the same thing. But the demand has definitely gone down.
Governor, many businesses are still struggling.
One on the vaccines, is there anything you're planning to do to encourage people to get the vaccine, more incentives or just encouragement in general? And two, on the anti-riot bill, what if a prosecutor, a local prosecutor, state attorney uses their discretion to not enforce the measures in that bill?
So the first thing we are, as I mentioned, we're working on public service announcements. We're going to have different ones in different parts of the state using, I think, validators that people would have confidence in. We have done other stuff short of that, but I think you're going to see a bigger push on that, and we're happy to do it. In terms of can a prosecutor just decide they're going to ignore the law? The answer to that is no. You are duty sworn to enforce the law and Constitution in this state, and individual cases, there's always discretion. I mean, sometimes, you know, you do diversion. Sometimes the evidence, that's different. But if you say, I'm just not going to impose a penalty. So, for example, if you have a violent assembly and you throw a brick and hit a police officer, under our bill, you're going to jail. And that's what needs to happen, okay? And so if a prosecutor says, I'm going to ignore the law, then obviously we would be able to make sure those cases end up in a prosecutor's office who is willing to follow the law.
Governor, businesses are still struggling trying to hire employees, and many blame those who are manipulating, you know, the unemployment system and those who are trying to take advantage of the waivers in place. Your reaction to that, and can we expect changes anytime soon?
So the question is about businesses having trouble hiring people. I don't think it's manipulation. You know, whatever the benefits are, people are availing themselves of it. That's not their fault. I mean, that's really, if that's there, and they're going to do their behavior. So in Florida, the job search is going to be required going forward. I believe at the end of this month, Dane Eagle's working on that in DEO. We suspended that last year at this time because, quite frankly, there weren't jobs. And so we had a crush on the unemployment system. We had people having to go on the system to do job search. We said, you know what, that's not the best way to get the money out. So that's what we did. I think it was the right thing to do. But I think now we're in just a different situation. You have a surplus of jobs, and particularly in restaurant, lodging, hospitality, that people want to hire. I mean, you see these signs all over the place. Look, that's a good problem to have, but we also just want to make sure, like, look, if you're really unemployed and can't get a job, that's one thing, but making sure that you're doing your due diligence to look for work and making sure those incentives align better. But I can tell you this. Our state was predicted to get hit worse on COVID economically than any other state because of our service economy and our tourism base. And what we were able to do by keeping Florida open, we saved hundreds of thousands of jobs in the restaurant, hotel, hospitality industry. We saved thousands of businesses. And you know how I know that? Because every time I go out, someone will come up to me and say, thank you for saving my job, or thank you for saving my business. And so we've been able now, with 4.7% unemployment, that's significantly less than the national average of 6% and way less than lockdown states like New York and California have. And so we're doing it right. We obviously want to make sure those folks are able to succeed in terms of getting the people they need, but just think of where we could be. I mean, this is a good problem to have compared to seeing people. In some parts of the country, these businesses are dead. They're never coming back. This is the heavy hand of government crushing family businesses, ruining jobs, and destroying millions of people's lives. We chose another path in Florida. It was the right path. It was the successful path. And yes, we want to make sure that these things are high. I mean, there's actually restaurants that have to close one day a week because they don't have enough folks. So we're going to do that. But we also want our cruise lines to open. The CDC has mothballed this for over a year. They said that it was going to be 2 weeks last March. And, you know, the cruise industry was very much, they wanted to do the right thing. So they're like, all right, it's not going to be easy for us, but we're going to do it. Now here we are over a year later, and there's no end in sight. Now they say you can only cruise if you have 98% people show proof of vaccination. But that's ridiculous. They're cruising in other parts of the country, of the world, where they don't even have availability of vaccines yet, where they have much higher COVID than in the United States. And oh, by the way, if you don't let them sail from Florida, which is one of our major industries, they're going to sail from the Bahamas. You're going to have the same people in Florida, or that would come to Florida, instead of spending money in our restaurants and staying in our hotels and doing all that, they're going to fly to the Bahamas or some of these other islands in the Caribbean. They're going to get on the same ship. They're going to engage in the exact same behavior, and then they're going to fly back to Michigan or Pennsylvania or wherever, having basically just ignored Florida. So that is fundamentally unfair. It makes no sense. And we are suing the CDC right now. We have a hearing coming up in federal court. But I can tell you, I want the cruises going. I want the cruise ships going. I think it's vital for our economy. There's tens of thousands of folks that are impacted by this industry. When we announced the lawsuit in Miami, I'll never forget it. We had a bunch of folks behind me, kind of like this, but they were all people who worked in the industry, and not just work for the cruise lines. You have all these smaller businesses that support this industry. And one of the ladies went up there and she said, you know, we were told 2 weeks. It was hard for us, but we were there. We wanted to do our part. Here we are a year later. And she's like, you know, there's been a lot of toll in our community because of COVID. We've had a lot of deaths, but they're not deaths from COVID. They're deaths from despair. They're deaths from people that got involved with drugs and substance abuse or suicide, and the amount of how their lives and livelihoods were shattered by what the CDC did. So this has real consequences on people. These folks want to be back. We want them back, and we're going to be fighting for that. But think about the larger implication of this. Do you want one unelected bureaucracy to be able to have the power to indefinitely shut down a major industry in this country? They do not have that authority to do it. That's why we're suing them. But this has much larger implications than just cruise ships sailing or not. This has implications for potentially any industry. And look, with all due respect to the CDC, I mean, if you look at some of the stuff that they've done on school openings, where they're basically doing the teachers' union's bidding, when they say these kids should be masked at summer camp outdoors, I'm sorry, that's not science, that's politics. And so we believe that this lawsuit is very, very important. I look forward to seeing that. I know the hearing's coming up in Tampa, and we think that we have the solid legal ground on this, and I think it'll be a big victory for the people of Florida. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.